Morality is beating Putin. Hi, my name's Joe O'Connor, founder and CEO of the Transformer Company, and I help veteran business owners and supporters of veterans become bigger, better and bolder versions of themselves. Morality is beating Putin. So I just want to examine that, because over the last 7 days I've been watching the developments in Ukraine, and I've not said anything before now. And what's prompted this is my son was asking me about the battle that's going on in Ukraine. And I thought very carefully before speaking to him, because it's important that the youth of our day, of our time, understand things in a correct manner. So I looked at the three component parts of fighting power. The first is physical, and when I looked at Russia, the physical, the jets, the armaments, the manpower and woman power, and the tanks, against Ukraine, they bowed a little better. The second component part is the conceptual, right? So how are you going to use all of that? And again, the doctrine of the Russians, they're pretty well practiced on how to use tanks, air power, firepower, and bring it all together. The third and most important part from my point of view is the morale component. Now, I've got to say that President Zelensky has rallied his country. They're all behind him. No one can beat the Ukrainians as far as they're concerned. And more from everyone else's point of view as well. You see, the morale is extremely high with the Ukrainians as far as that. When you're listening to news broadcasts, read anything, they can win. They are winning. That's what they believe. Whereas you look at the morale component of the Russians, and it's a lot different. According to some media reporting, some Russian soldiers are actually stealing cars from the civilians in Ukraine and driving to escape. And I thought about what to say to my son, and I thought, right, best way, something that he understands, and that I understand as well, because I used to be a trainer on the boxing team in the military, is let's look at a boxing match. In the red corner, you've got the heavyweight, they've got everything he needs. You've got the coach, the top coaches, the top equipment, the training equipment that's gone before the match. The bout has actually been the best. Then in the blue and yellow corner, you've got a lightweight. Still perfectly formed, but nevertheless, half the size of this heavyweight. And as the boxing bout starts, the bell goes, and they've got 3 minutes, and they're battling it out toe to toe, and it's not looking good for the lightweight. The heavyweight is clearly winning on points. Then what happens is, as the crowd watching the fight become more and more engaged and can see this small lightweight, no matter what the odds are against them, as fighting toe to toe and not going to give up. So they all started applauding the lightweight, and a coach comes in, a top class coach who's better equipped than the heavyweight coach. All the equipment comes in for the breaks that they need, top water, everything's just the best. And the bout carries on, and then the tides are turning. And talking about boxers, the Ukrainians are just rallying. There's volunteers. It's like Dad's army. You know, who do you think you're kidding, Mr. Putin? Who do you think you're kidding, Mr. Putin? If you can take us and you think Ukrainians done, because we're not. And Vitaly Klitschko has actually volunteered. He's a multi-millionaire from boxing, and he's a Ukrainian. He's thought, right, I'm going to volunteer for the armed forces. So he's donned the uniform, and many other people have. And a special mention, right, to engineers, as a former engineer myself, Royal Engineers. An engineer, what a brave chap, a young man. He was at a bridge demolition to stop the Russians from progressing, advancing. And the detonator wasn't going to work, so he gave his life in service of his country. A Ukrainian young man, or a young soldier. and he stayed and detonated the bridge himself. Now that is true bravery. And in the last 7 days, because it is now 2nd of March 2022, this battle has been going on for 7 days. And in that 7 days, the world is starting to rally behind the Ukrainians. The president gave an impassioned speech about he needs help and how you're going to help him. And the EU, he has done what no one has been able to do for decades. He's brought the EU, the European Union, to a position where they are agreeing on everything extremely quickly. And the SWIFT banking system has been frozen for the Russians. The SWIFT banking system is the international way that banks exchange money. As a consequence, the Russian reserves with the United States, Europe, Britain, many other countries has been frozen. So Putin has got no access to money now. The oligarchs, all their assets have been frozen, private jets, ships, yachts, everything. Now they're going after property as well. Interest rates have been hiked to 20% to see if they can halt the inflation in Russia. 20% interest rate. Much higher than I've ever seen. The highest I've seen in Britain was 15, 16, 17%. So Russia now, 20% restriction of money. BP and Shell have pulled out of the gas resources and energy resources. Sport have withdrawn all access to sporting competition, which will really hurt Putin because he loves being on the stage with sport. The UN Security Council recently had a meeting, and the Chinese abstained from voting against the Russians. The only vote in favour of the Russians was the Russian person themselves, and they were head of the council at that time, recently. And then let's have a look, going back to morality now, where I said morality is beating Putin. Well, the Russian soldiers, they're feeling demoralised. And from all accounts, they're feeling really demoralised. And no wonder really, because it's a not so well known fact that Putin was probably thinking that he was going to have this over in 4 or 5 days, which meant that he could just walk into Ukraine, all flowers would be thrown down in front of him, he'd be paraded and honoured as the saviour of Ukraine. That's not happened. We're in day 7 now. So my guess is that as the battle group has moved forward, they've had enough rations and fuel for 5 days. That's probably why they're just sitting outside of Kyiv, because they don't want to go into Kyiv, because Putin clearly sees it as a place where Russia was founded, with all the religious connotations and all the ties to the original birth of the Russians, because actually Kyiv was founded before Moscow, right? It wasn't until later that Moscow was formed. So demoralised, rations depleted, not in a good place. So what I'd like you to do is just start rallying for the Ukrainians. I get it that well, I'm certainly not in a position to go across to Ukraine and put on the uniform. I know we're sending out British forces now, which is great news. Just start tweeting. There's a petition out at the minute to sign. Do what you can personally to support the Ukrainians. And if you like, share this video, because I want to get this message out to as many people as I can. Ukrainians, we support you. We think you are extremely brave. We wish you the very best for the future. And remember, morality is beating Putin. Thank you and have a brilliant day.